Hey guys, so I'm going to go ahead and show you how I'm going to attach an additional pinch pot down here to the bottom. Hold on, let me turn my music down. I got a little Nora Jones playing today, so I don't know what you got playing, but share it with me. I'll play it in the background, see what's jamming in your guys' ears all day long. But remember in class I told you that I wanted to add another pinch pot down here, so that's what I'm going to do in case any of you need to elongate the body of your forms. This is how you would do it. It's not any different than what we talked about in class, but I just want to kind of reiterate that. So I've got my small pinch pot made, so I'm going to add it down here to the bottom because remember in my drawing I wanted the body of my little creature to be longer and narrower. And you can only push the clay so far before you have to readjust it. So that's why I just made an additional one and I'm going to attach it right here. So let me readjust the camera so that way you guys can see what I'm going to be doing. And I'm going to use the same exact tools that you have at home. I'm not going to use anything fancy or anything. That way we're all kind of in this together and I have what you have. Hopefully my phone doesn't fall down. Okay. All right, so where's my pinch pot? So I got my pinch pot and I'm going to attach it like right in here. So I'm gonna mark it. So you guys I didn't send you home with a needle tool, remember? But you can just use your modeling tool that you have to mark your edges if you need to do something like this. And then remember that you're going to drop it back about 1/4 of an inch because we don't want to cut right on our edge or else you won't have any clay to attach to. So I'm going to drop it back and I'm going to cut out this area. All right. Oop. Cut that out. There's my paper towel. If you feel like you need to stuff it, maybe don't use your paper towels, but if you have any like recycled paper or something, you could stuff it. Yeah. So then remember, wherever you put 2 pieces of clay together, we want to slip and score. So you should have your slip. I need to add some water in mine. If yours gets dried out like mine is, mine's a little bit dry. I haven't used this in a while because I use stoneware here at my home. So I need to add some water to this. It'll be fine for this piece, but I kind of like my slip a little bit thicker personally, but you know, it's just personal preference. As you know, I talk a lot about that. As you learn the skills, you know, basic skills, then you'll start to kind of learn that all ceramic artists do things a little bit different. But oftentimes they'll have the same foundation. But that's what separates artists. That's how you create a body of work. And it's very cool to watch and learn from other artists in that regard. So I'm gonna score and slip there. And then I'm gonna score and slip here. Now for those that are not actually in my class, but maybe you're watching this, you might have been taught to score first and then add slip. And I just felt like that was always kind of a redundant process. A lot of times you end up smoothing out your scoring marks. So that's why I slip first. And I'm just gonna stuff just a little bit more paper down in here because I didn't do that when I added my last one. And I just wanna make sure that it has some strength. So I'll put that one here. Now, anytime you're adding an additional pinch pot or whatever it is you're adding, make sure that it's in the right spot. Remember, you're working in a 3-dimensional form. And now we're gonna score the seam. And again, you guys have your modeling tool, so you can use this. It's gonna do the same thing. Pull that clay onto the previous piece. And then at this point, you should kind of know what's happening. We're going to add a coil. And I'm going to put it down in that seam, just pressing it just slightly. And then half the coil down onto the body of your pinch pot and half the coil onto the additional attachment. And then remember, like we talked about in class, you're gonna make your pull marks. Pull that clay all the way back through your clay. So that way we can't see where your connection point is. We don't wanna be able to see where your seam is. So compress that clay really, really well. I'm gonna use my rib tool, remember, to compress it the rest of the way. And don't worry about those crumbs. Remember, your sponge is gonna get rid of that. Not a huge deal. Just make sure we can't see where your seam is. So I'm gonna add a little piece of clay right here. So I'm gonna switch gears and talk about the additive process. The additive process is one of those techniques that we talked about, that you're gonna learn about. So anytime you have like a piece of clay, or maybe it was too thin, or you need to build up that area, we'll talk more about this too when we get to attachments of the legs and arms and stuff. But you can just add a little bit of clay in that area. Just make sure that you're compressing it really well, because you do not want to create an air pocket. So when you do this, just make sure you're spending enough time smoothing it in and compressing it. There we go. So now it's even on both sides. Okay, so then as we all know, we're gonna take our sponge and we're gonna smooth those crumbs in. And I'm gonna try not to use the round or the flat paddle on this, because I know you guys don't have, maybe you have one at home, but anything flat really would work, but it doesn't have to be an official ceramic wooden paddle. Okay, so now that's more the shape that I wanted. It's narrow, more narrow down here than it is at the top. So I got this little fat kind of roly-poly shape, which is what I was going for my little critter. And I'm just gonna narrow this up even more just by shaping it with my hands. Your clay will move for you, but be careful because it does have memory. But you can stretch it, you know, just by altering the shape. And then if it gets any little divots or anything, just kind of go back in and reshape it. No big deal. I think a lot of times students just don't spend enough time on the foundation. And they move on, they want to move on too fast to their attachments. You gotta have a good foundation before you can add anything to it, a good base. Okay, so there we go. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to start adding my attachments. So I'm gonna get some stuff prepped and ready to go, and that will be the next video that I do. So stay tuned, guys. If you weren't ready for this, you'll be ready for the next one. So I'll see you in a bit.